used to think that only people who had first class degrees could get scholarship. And I remember feeling like, I beg, I'm not interested, I can't do this. Scholarship and my name cannot be in the same sentence. I want to be able to support those students who have fears or concerns or questions about how they can navigate the journey to fully funded opportunities. That kind of story that when you submit your essays, the reviewers remember you. Do you remember this student that said this and this?
Yeah.
They may not remember your name, but they remember the stories. I've never been treated for malaria. Like I don't take malaria meds. I don't go to the hospital to be like, hey, I have malaria. And we know that in Nigeria, malaria is
Yeah.
a sickness that's common, right, for people with the AA genotype. So you see how that piece of information just elicited like oh, really from you. We do a giveaway. So somebody might win a gift card or two.
Okay. We're getting into it. And how are you? How are you feeling today? In one
I'm
word.
doing okay. I'm fine, actually. My body hurts from the gym, but gains over pain.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. Yes.
Okay. You won't ask how I am,
How are you? How are you?
but
You
yeah,
can.
I'm fine. I would say somehow I'm overwhelmed with
Mm,
starting this whole new thing, but I'm good.
yeah, I feel you. I feel you.
So let's get right into it. So I wanted to ask, do you like people calling you Feyi or Feyipitan?
To be honest, I really like to be called Feyipitan, but a lot of people cannot pronounce it, so I just let them call me Feyi, but I appreciate the effort. So Feyipitan is fine.
Okay, I'll just use Feyi.
Mm-hmm.
So we have
Yes.
Feyi here, and I think we've known each other for how many years?
I don't even know.
Probably more
Maybe,
than 10 years, yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Mhm. And Feyi was a recipient of a fully funded scholarship to the US, if I'm correct,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
also a fully funded trip to the UN headquarters,
Mm-hmm.
and also a Vital Voices Fellowship.
Yes,
And Feyi has helped over 1,000 students to gain global opportunities.
that's
Correct?
right. Yep.
Awesome. And she also has experience in community engagement, program manager, and I'm sure there are lots more that you have experience in. So
Yes.
thank you. Welcome, Feyi.
Thank you. Let me clap for myself.
I'm clapping for you too.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So you have an upcoming workshop themed
Mm-hmm.
Your Story, Your Way, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting it right. And we'll be getting into it shortly. So
Mm-hmm.
just like as a starter, at the end of this session that we are having, what do you expect the listeners to gain?
I think there are many things I could say, but one of the key things is I want to be able to support those students who have fears or concerns or questions about how they can navigate the journey to fully funded opportunities. I want to, first of all, validate your feelings and all the experiences that you've had, and also give you the tools and the tips and the tricks that give you bravery and courage to pursue global opportunities.
Awesome. That's quite deep. Thank you. And I mean, you have experience with scholarship. You've won scholarships, sponsorships, fellowships yourself. Can you talk me through your experience? Did you also apply to 10, like I've been seeing online? Did you apply to a lot? Or you just tried your luck and you got it? And after that, can you let me know which one is the most exciting for you out of all these things that you've gotten?
Okay, my story is a bit long, but I'll try to summarize it.
Yeah.
So, I first applied to graduate school in 2020 during COVID, during the pandemic. And honestly, I had zero idea what I was doing. I just watched a few YouTube videos, asked a couple of people I knew who had schooled abroad, and I kind of put together, my application. And there were many things I didn't know, like about funding, how to secure funding. And I had a lot of mindsets that were harmful to my process. For example, I used to think that only people who had first class degrees could get scholarships. So I never even tried the US in my first attempt. I also used to think that, I had to say a lot of flowery words in my essays and show that, I was motivated, I was needy for them to accept me. And of course, because I wrote all kinds of things in my SOP that today when I read them, I just cringe. I ended up getting rejected from all the schools I applied to. And the ones I did get accepted in, so I'd focused on Canada and the UK. It came without funding. And at the time, the exchange rate between dollar and naira was just insane at the time. And it was like, how am I going to afford $20,000, £20,000 in school
Yeah.
fees? So I ended up not going, which was in 2021. And that same 2021, one of my very dear friends in Kechi, she knew about the experience I had in the previous year with not getting funding. And so she told me about this webinar workshop that's coming up, and it was a workshop for how to secure fully funded opportunities abroad. And I remember feeling like, I beg, I'm not interested, I
Mhm.
can't do this. Scholarship and my name cannot be in the same sentence. But, she persuaded me. She probably sent me the workshop flyer like 3 times on Instagram. And she's like, oh, just sign up and just see what it's about. So I signed up, and this workshop was being held by Getting Edu. And through Getting Edu, I remember that first webinar, I realized that all these mindsets I had were harmful, that opportunities abound for everyone. You just need to be able to tell your story, and you also need to come prepared, of course, because preparation will meet success and so on and so forth. So Getting also had a boot camp, something called a graduate school application boot camp, and it was a 3-month program. And through that program, we learned about how to write SOPs, how to do CVs, how to research, because I think research is a big part of securing fully funded opportunities and so many other things. And through the collection of all of those things, I was able to apply to a couple of schools. And this time I focused on the US because I realized that the US had more funding opportunities. And I was able to secure an offer for a graduate assistantship. So if you don't know what that means, in a graduate assistantship, it kind of differs by
Yeah.
school and by program. But generally, a graduate assistantship is when the school pays you to go to work and to school. So what that looks like may be that you may be doing some research duties, you may be teaching, you may be doing some administrative duties, and so on. And in some programs, in many schools and many programs, your tuition is fully covered. So your tuition is fully covered, you get paid a stipend. And so that's what we mean when we say a fully funded opportunity. And I was able to secure one through a lot of grit and a lot of work and a lot of effort at Illinois State University for my master's degree in social work. And of course, since that time, I've gotten other like small scholarships here and there and fellowship programs. I like to tell people that fellowships changed my life.
Okay.
Knowing how to apply for them, it gave me a lot of tools, a lot of resources, and so on and so forth. Um, there are many that have been exciting for me, but I would say being able to go to the UN, and that's because it's the most recent one. So
Yeah.
this was a fully funded opportunity for something called the AFS Youth Assembly. So I received a scholarship called the Sir Cyril Taylor Charitable Foundation Young African Leaders Award. So this was for young Africans who are doing work in the social impact space. And this award also included a fully funded trip
Yeah.
to the Youth Assembly, which happened in New York. And as part of the Youth Assembly, we got to go to the UN. And I think it was one of those things where you're in a space and you think to yourself, one day I want to be here in a different capacity. Or you realize, wow, this was a dream I had like three,
Yeah.
4, 5 years ago, and
Yeah.
now it's happening. So I would say that's the most exciting just because it's the most recent, but all the other opportunities I've gotten have been exciting for various reasons.
Okay, interesting. I mean, this is quite, I would say, different from like
Mhm.
our experience in Germany. So, I mean, you know, I also got a fully funded scholarship, but it didn't involve like having to work. So it's
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, inspiring story. So now back to the webinar you're having soon. I mean, you've talked about it a bit. What's the inspiration behind the title and behind having this?
So this workshop is called the Your Story Your Way workshop. And even though this workshop got the official title in December, which was December of 2024, and the first one was launched this year, I would say that this is a workshop that I've been doing for a while. So if you remember from what I shared in my story, I was working at Getting Edu. So after I was a student at the Getting Edu boot camp, the following year I got employed because of how active and involved I was in the program. And one of the things I used to do as an employee was I would put together Saturday sessions where I would help the students review their essays. I would teach them tips and tricks and tools that I had used or things I was learning and so on. And I realized that I was good at this. And I also realized that there was a gap, that a lot of students didn't actually know how to write essays,
Yeah.
or they didn't know how to review their essays. Like they would write things, but they didn't know how to review, how to answer questions properly. So I would do that like randomly. I would just gather a group of people and say, okay, do you want me to help you? Let me help you review your essays. And then at some point, I started getting requests. So I had friends, even my mom, people will send people to me and say, hey, can you review this person's essay for me? And so I just started doing that randomly. I started doing workshops randomly with really no structure. But in 2024, I just realized that I want this to be something that is consistent and something that becomes a household name that people will say, oh, did you attend this workshop? Yes, I learned how to do one, two, three, four, five, and so on. So this year, I decided to, put it together. So I think it was in January or February, I don't remember now. We had the first two-part series. So the Your Story, Your
Oh,
Way
okay.
workshop. And I named it that because all of us are unique. I don't think we should be telling the same stories when we write
Yeah.
our SOPs or when we write our essays for global opportunities, personal statements, or whatever they are. Even when we do interviews, we shouldn't sound the same. We're all unique. We all have our own stories. And I want to be able to teach students how to tell their own unique stories, how to come from their own perspectives and share their stories in such a way that lands them these opportunities. So I don't really fully remember where the name came from. It might have been an inspiration. One of those things, you're going on a walk and an idea drops in your head.
Mhm.
But I remember just thinking, your story, your way, and I've loved the name and it's something that I want to keep doing.
Okay, perfect. I was going to ask next for you to give us a sneak peek into what to expect, but
Mhm.
you've talked about it a bit. Maybe you could also share one, maybe it's an activity or one idea that you'll be sharing with people, just a sneak peek.
So I've taught this workshop 3 times now. Yes, 3 times this year. This particular, well, I would say more than, but with this particular title, 3 times.
Mhm.
And there's an activity that I do, something called using an improbable fact to describe yourself or to talk about yourself. And I found that students really like that activity. So improbable fact, first of all, a fact is anything that can be proven to be true or false. But an improbable fact is something about you that is true, but feels unlikely or sounds unlikely. So it's one of those things that when you tell people, they're like, really? Or they're like, what? Even your friends, even people who know you, when you tell them, they're like, what? So it usually elicits a response of surprise or excitement and so on. And we're not talking about simple things like, oh, I'm short, I'm tall, or I'm dark, and so on. We're talking about things that when you put them together, people go, wow. So I'll give you an example. My genotype is AA, and I've had an appendectomy, I've had a tooth removal, I've had a toenail removal, but I've never been treated for malaria. Like I don't take malaria meds. I don't go to the hospital to be like, hey, I have malaria. And we know that in Nigeria, malaria is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
sickness that's common, right, for people with the AA genotype. So you
yeah,
see how that piece of information just elicited like
yeah,
a, oh, really,
yeah,
from you.
yeah.
So, I mean, not every improbable fact about us will be good enough to go into our essays, but some of them are good enough for us to tell a story that makes us stand out. That kind of story that when you submit your essays, the reviewers remember you. Do you remember this student that said this and this?
Yeah.
They may not remember your name, but they
Mhm.
remember the story. So that's an activity to watch out for.
Okay, that's nice. That's perfect. So I will just put a quick disclaimer. If what we've been talking about so far is interesting to you, this is the time to like, subscribe, and share with somebody so you
Retweet.
keep getting,
Yes.
getting insights like this. So now back to this. What would you say makes this different from just going on Google to say how to apply for scholarships or opportunities? I mean, I
Mm.
have an idea. If you say it, I will say, okay, yes, I thought about it. But if you don't say it, I'll share what I think it is.
Yes. I think that I'm one of those people who I don't like templates, because I think that they restrict our creativity. And I
Mhm.
think if you simply go to Google or you just go to YouTube, and there's so many great resources out there. I'm not going to say they aren't, but I think that a lot of the resources are more focused on giving generic templates as opposed to teaching us the foundations of how to do things. So the
Mm.
Your Story Your Way workshop is really trying to help you understand the basics so that you can build upon that. You need to understand the foundations of telling a story, the foundations of applications, so that when you come across any kind of essay, you know what to do. You wouldn't see an essay question and be bummed. You wouldn't see an essay question and be like, oh my gosh, I have nothing to write, because you already know how to decode the question, you know how to demystify the application, and then you know how to brainstorm out of your collection of improbable facts and other things that we will build on the workshop that will help you then put together an essay that makes you different. So I would say that's the major thing that I really prioritize teaching students how to fish and not giving them the fish.
Okay. So what I would have said would have been, I would say it's going to be more personal.
Yes, for sure.
Going to Google, which has something for everybody. This is tailored to maybe each person, and you are teaching them like directly. So yeah.
Yes, yes. For sure. There's going to be, so I don't do my workshops and just give you the information. We'll have class activities, we'll have share outs, there'll be homework and so on. So you can expect good things from it.
Okay. Okay. So another question I have is, from your experience, what's one mistake you think people keep making over and over again?
Hmm. I feel like there's so many, and I know you said
Just
one, but
name one.
I'll say two.
Okay.
I think the first one I would say is not giving enough time to
Yeah.
our essays, and this is something that even I can be guilty of. There are sometimes you see an application and you're like, let me just quickly apply, and because you don't give enough time, you don't read the website thoroughly, you don't identify what they actually need from you, you don't
Mhm.
spend time thinking critically, and because of that you basically just dump whatever information you have. Sometimes we're even guilty of just copying and pasting, right? You go to an application you submitted 2, 3 months ago, even a year ago, and just copy and paste, forgetting that every organization is different and what they're looking for is different. Whether you're applying for a scholarship, a fellowship, is always different. So that's the big mistake. And I think a second one is that a lot of us tell stories that it's like, what should we do with that information? Or we tell stories without giving enough evidence. So when you say I am passionate, what does that mean? Or when you say I'm a dedicated student, I've always been passionate. What does I've always been passionate mean? We don't provide enough receipts, enough evidence that really shows that we are who we say we are. And I think that that's always what happens, especially for Nigerian students, because we're taught in a Nigerian culture not to brag, so people
Mhm.
don't know how to tell their stories without feeling like they are bragging. But
Yeah.
we forget that it is the people who put themselves out there, the people who share their stories, they're the ones who get the opportunity. So those two things I would say.
Yeah, I mean, this is very true. I was just recording a session yesterday about scholarships, and one thing that was important was start writing your statements, your motivation letter early, because
Mm-hmm.
you're competing with
Yeah,
thousands of
yeah.
people. Your
There's
story
nothing
has
wrong with
to be,
spending 3 months, 6 months writing.
yeah.
Nothing.
And then share with people to help you review. Don't think like, oh, okay, I'm good. Find people to help you review, talk about it, read and read again, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So how can people register for this webinar? And then I'm seeing 4 hours. I
It's
mean,
actually
that
six
seems like
hours.
a long six
Yes.
hours.
So no, it's
Okay.
3 hours per session, so 6 hours in total.
Wow.
So there's a Google form. So I have to say that the Your Story Your Way workshop is organized, or is, I don't want to say founded, but I'll say founded by me. However, I have done it in collaboration with
Mm-hmm.
other organizations, and this particular one that's happening this September on the 20th and on the 27th is in
Mm-hmm.
partnership with Sisterly HQ. And if you don't know what Sisterly HQ is, they're an organization that provide opportunities and resources for women in tech, for the girlies. So
Okay.
you should definitely check them out. I see them doing a lot of good work. There's a lot of opportunities when it comes to grants, job opportunities, things like this. So basically, their mission and vision aligns with what I'm doing, which is just creating opportunities for
Yeah.
students and learners and adults and workers and all of us really to access all kinds of opportunities that
Mm-hmm.
advance our career. So I'm doing this in partnership with Sisterly HQ, and we had one earlier this year. I think the second one I did was in partnership with them as well, and it went fantastic. It was great. So you're going to see a Google form, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Dupe will provide the
Yeah,
link.
I'll post it.
And yes, just fill out that form. The questions are not really simple, just
Mm-hmm.
to give me an idea of what to expect from students. And it's a 3-hour workshop for each day, a two-part series. And sometimes people are like, well, it's kind of long, but I've also had a lot of feedback where students tell me this wasn't even enough. I wish we
Mm-hmm.
could keep going. So
Okay.
it's long because we do a lot of activities. But that's the good part about it. You won't get bored because, I don't talk at you for 3 hours. I give you activities, you get to be in breakout rooms and so on and so forth. So come with your writing document. I recommend using a Google Doc where you can, work on it as time
Mm-hmm.
goes on. But a pen and paper works as well. Come ready to share, come ready to learn. And sometimes, actually, every time I've done it this year, we do a giveaway. So somebody might
Okay.
win a gift card or two.
Okay.
So come expectant and bring a friend or two.
Okay, and like how many people are you expecting?
So I think the least number I've ever had is 100 people.
Okay.
But usually I have a lot of people signed up. So for this one, there are over 300 people signed up already, which is great,
Okay.
even though I know that about a third of people
Yeah.
attend. So but I would really like to see if we can get to 200 people for this one. I
Mm-hmm.
think the last one we did with your story with Sisterly HQ, it was about 150 people,
Okay.
just across. So I'm hoping to get more registrations, but I feel like this is good work. It speaks for itself. So even 100 people is fine by me, but we want to keep going big, right? So
Yeah.
we want to go big or go home. So one
That's the
day I
goal.
envision that maybe I would have 1,000 sign-ups and 500 people will show. But for now,
Yeah.
my Zoom can only take 300. But for now, I'm expecting at least 150 to 200 people
Okay, okay. And I'm sure you'll get that.
for sure. Soft work.
Okay. So as we're rounding off, any final words of encouragement to people that are in this stage trying to send in
Mhm.
applications, or maybe something you wish Faye of 5 years ago would have heard?
Oh, okay. One thing I always say, and I always tell people whenever I do things like this, is I really believe that anybody can secure fully funded opportunities, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's fellowships, whether it's scholarships, whether it's jobs, and so on. I think that fellowship, scholarship jobs, they are not like reserved for a special group of people, even though there are some programs that are really, really special and niche, but anybody can secure an opportunity. I think you just need to know how to do the work and how to tell your story and how to keep persevering. So if you are listening to this and you're like, hey, there's nothing special about me, I don't think I'll ever be able to do this. The first thing you have to change is your mindset. Anybody can secure a fully funded like opportunity. People that come to grad school are not they're not supernaturals. We're not, it's not about greatness. We literally just did the work and opportunities came. So that's one thing. The second thing is that it's really, really important for you to know your why, because if you don't know your why, how can you convince me that you know your why? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Know your motivation for doing things. And you don't have to have a clear picture 100%, but know at least 70%. So spend time with yourself. Why am I interested in this course? Why am I interested in this fellowship? What will it do for me? If you know those things, if you have your own trajectory, your own plan, your own goals, then you'll be better able to tell it to somebody else, and your stories will be better and stronger. And finally, in Nigeria, we like to say that everybody will chop breakfast, but basically, rejections is part of the process. Like even with how great I am, I like to consider myself great.
Okay.
As applying for things and writing
Yeah.
essays, I still get rejections, and some rejections really hurt because sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's definitely not my essay. I know that my essay is top notch. So rejections are a part of the process. When you're rejected, evaluate, review your documents, ask for help, and move on. But don't let two or three or even 10 rejections deter you. One day an opportunity will come and you won't even remember that you've been rejected. And sometimes you may be rejected this year, but you're accepted next year. So keep pushing and keep doing the work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Faye. This has
Mhm.
been so encouraging. Even me feeling like, okay, I should go and register. Be a
Yes,
part of
register.
this.
Come see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I mean, as we've all heard, if you're listening to this, what I can get from this is so it's not the form that is the most important. Your storytelling is what makes you stand out.
Hmm.
And that is something that we all need to work on. I mean, I know you're a great storyteller.
I try.
And yeah, so thank you so much. Where
Of
can people
course.
find you? Where can people follow up on your work?
Follow me on LinkedIn. Okay, yes. I post a lot of consistently on LinkedIn. I don't want to say a lot, but consistently I share about my work. I share my about my experience navigating
Mhm.
being an international student. I share opportunities, I share thoughts and so on. So find me on LinkedIn. And if for whatever reason you're unable to make your Story Your Way workshop this September, next year in 2024, when we start up again, because I want it to be quarterly, you'll definitely
Okay.
see it on my LinkedIn and other opportunities. I have a social impact, but that's by the way, you will see that on my LinkedIn as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Now,
Of
as we wrap
course.
up, I'm glad we kicked off with this important conversation. I'm inspired. I'm sure everybody watching, listening is also inspired. And if this inspired you, if you felt like you've benefited a lot from this, and of course you'll still benefit from the workshop, share this with anybody you think will benefit. Share this with your colleague, your sister, your brother, your friends,
Hmm.
anybody you think will benefit. So thank you, Faye. Until next time.
Thank you, everyone. See you around.
Bye.